You got guys that punch hard and hit hard, and you got guys that come out and win a few rounds. But nothing really was tough.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 5 fighters at heavyweight.
So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Andrei Kabiel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Floyd Mayweather believes fans rush too quickly to label new fighters as legends without really comparing their careers. He questions whether Oleksandr Usyk truly deserves the level of praise he has been receiving. Mayweather has never been shy about calling himself the greatest, saying that no fighter before or after him has been better, including Usyk. While many fans view Usyk as an all-time great, Floyd strongly disagrees. He admits Usyk is skilled, but insists his own career is on a completely different level. Mayweather points to his undefeated record, his championships across multiple weight divisions, and the many years he controlled the sport as proof of his greatness. He also believes the opponents he fought were far tougher than the fighters Usyk has faced. From Floyd's perspective, Usyk is getting more credit than he deserves and still falls far behind him in terms of ability, achievements, and overall legacy.
Today, I'll let you know, there's no fighter that will ever be better than me. There's no fighter that wasn't better than me before me or after me or when I'm long gone. I'm the best.
Including Showbiz the Adult, push back against the growing hype around Oleksandr Usyk and question whether he truly deserves to be called an all-time great. While many fans praise his dominance in the heavyweight division, Showbiz argues that the level of competition Usyk faced may not be strong enough to support that reputation. The main concern centers on the quality of his opponents, because if the fighters he beat were not elite or were past their prime, then the value of those wins becomes less impressive. Aside from Tyson Fury, who is often recognized as a true top-tier opponent, most of the fighters Usyk defeated are not viewed as legendary figures in boxing history. Because of this, critics believe it is too early to place Usyk in the same conversation as iconic champions like Muhammad Ali or Evander Holyfield.
That Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chance Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought and look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with, who he lost to. Dubois is not an all-time great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony AJ Joshua. Now, if you guys think that AJ is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely can. There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out by Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can. So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. It's his thing.
Another view from analysts is that Oleksandr Usyk's true greatness should be judged through pound-for-pound rankings rather than by comparing him with the greatest heavyweights in history. They describe him as a highly skilled technician known for sharp footwork, strong defense, and exceptional ring intelligence, qualities that make him one of the best fighters of the modern era. However, many analysts stop short of labeling him an all-time heavyweight legend. In their opinion, Usyk's reputation is built more on his unique style, discipline, and ability to adapt inside the ring than on victories over historically dominant opponents. Because of this, they agree he clearly belongs among the top active fighters today, but his position among boxing's all-time legends is still open to debate.
But let's talk about Usyk. His performance was, okay, that's number one. And many of you say, well, Usyk is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight. I don't agree. Because Usyk has only had like 7 heavyweight fights. It's very stacked within those 7 fights. But really, it's hard to put him past people who's had 30-plus, 40-plus fights and just had a career, a great all-time career at heavyweight. But what I can say is that Oleksandr Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound, ever. And I put him on my Mount Rushmore today. So I don't have him as an all-time great heavyweight, but I do have him as an all-time great pound for pound fighter. And where do I put him there? Pretty damn high.
Critics also argue that some of Usyk's opponents lost not simply because he was unbeatable, but because they failed to use their abilities properly in the ring. Even fighters who faced him more than once struggled to make the right adjustments. Analysts suggest that boxers like Michael Hunter or Joe Joyce, who have shown stronger ring awareness and smarter tactics, might have created more problems for him. A common opinion is that opponents capable of matching Usyk's movement and timing could make the fight far more competitive, but very few heavyweights prepare for that style. Instead, many of his challengers stepped into the ring without a clear strategy, which allowed Usyk to control the fight and made his path to victory much easier.
Harsh on Daniel Dubois after the fight, and I actually think I'm, being fair in being a bit harsh on him. I think Daniel Dubois is an exceptional fighter, but there is something, where it's a confidence thing. And I think Oleksandr Usyk, give him a lot of credit. His jab looked exceptional on Saturday. And really that first, jab that landed on Daniel Dubois, it snapped his head back, and it was a powerful jab. It actually reminded me of Artur Beterbiev's jab when it's, when he really snaps it. And it was obviously a very powerful shot. So I think Daniel Dubois, I think he was confused by Usyk, and I think, he just looked so discouraged to me. Again, take nothing away from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was an exceptional performance. And to be honest, he really didn't even get out of second gear. And he didn't even need to. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, talk about what he's going to do next. In my opinion, really, there's only one fight that I would actually want to see. For me, that's Adrian Caballel. I think Adrian Caballel is someone that, number one, knows how to go to the body. I think if Oleksandr Usyk does have a weakness, it is the body. I think Adrian Caballel can follow a disciplined game plan. I think he's had a good string of wins. And I think his stamina is very good as well. I think Oleksandr Usyk is, winning a lot of these fights based on his speed, his stamina, and his footwork. These big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they cannot live with the pace that Usyk is setting. Daniel Dubois was knackered after 3 rounds in that fight. Okay, so they can't live with the pace. So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Adrian Caballel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game.
Showbiz argues that it is too early to place Oleksandr Usyk in the same category as legends like Muhammad Ali or Evander Holyfield, because he believes Usyk has not yet built a strong enough resume to earn that level of recognition. In his view, the greatest fighters in boxing history are remembered not just for their talent, but for defeating top-level opponents during their careers. Showbiz claims that even the 5 best fighters Usyk has beaten would likely not rank among the top 5 opponents faced by Ali or Holyfield. This comparison highlights the difference between being a dominant fighter in your own time and being considered one of the greatest champions in the entire history of the sport.
I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. When he beat George Foreman was a killer. Beating George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there. Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moorer, Evander beating Michael Dokes, if you guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different brain. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all and he beat them, okay? But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have the likes of Jack Johnson, which when you look at his box rec, you see his record and you don't know what he had to overcome to beat some beasts.
When Daniel Dubois faced Oleksandr Usyk, many fans expected a tough and intense battle, but the fight revealed several problems in Dubois's performance. After the match, analysts pointed out weaknesses in his footwork, very little head movement, and his inability to keep consistent pressure on Usyk throughout the rounds. These issues led to an important question. Was Usyk truly unstoppable that night, or was Dubois simply not at his best? Although Usyk won the fight clearly, some observers feel the result highlighted Dubois's poor showing more than it demonstrated Usyk at his absolute peak. Because of this, the discussion about the overall level of competition Usyk has faced continues to grow among boxing fans and analysts.
Very pro Dubois, and we were willing him on being a London boy and stuff like that. I thought he won the first round. I thought Usyk won the second round, but I thought there was arguments for certainly giving Dubois the third round. But you could see, even if he was in the fight, things were starting to change after the second round. Usyk just had that extra little bit of class about him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have him for any rounds. I just thought Usyk was so dominant, and that jab. And I'm not no boxing expert. I'm a casual. I'm a heavyweight casual. I just love to see big heavyweights box each other and knockouts. But I just feel like Usyk just was not even out of second gear. Like
didn't need to be.
He didn't need to be. He just had him on that jab, and he just kept plowing away. And whenever Dubois tried to land like a big shot, like one of those big punches that you talk about.
Renowned trainer Teddy Atlas offered a sharp analysis of Daniel Dubois's performance against Oleksandr Usyk, criticizing the way Dubois handled the fight. Atlas explained that even after feeling Usyk's power and seeing his movement early on, Dubois still failed to make the necessary adjustments. His main criticism focused on Dubois's lack of body attacks and the absence of a clear strategy. Atlas believes Dubois stepped into the ring without a real tactical plan, approaching the fight like a normal bout instead of a carefully planned battle. Because of this, Dubois allowed Usyk to control the pace, use his angles, and settle into his rhythm, which eventually led to the knockout. Atlas's analysis strengthens the view that many fighters who face Usyk are not fully prepared for his smart and highly technical style.
That's why I still thought, with the game plan, how do you not see that and adjust 3 rounds later and do it again? But the more disturbing thing to me, Bud, was the lack of body work from Dubois. How do you not go to the body after what happened in the first fight? How do you not test that? He didn't throw one body shot maybe until the 3rd round, and maybe he threw a couple throughout the whole entire fight, or as long as it lasted into the 5th round. That was surprising to me, and I thought they dropped the ball big time with that as well.
You know, to that point, but he did throw the one body shot. I'm not going to get deep into this because there was only one, but it almost looked like it bothered Usyk.
Right?
You know what I mean?
And it looked like very similar to the first fight, close to that belt line, right?
Yeah. But it was low. It was a little low. It was. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. But still, to your point, how do you leave that alone? And then I'm gonna early in the show when I broke down the Holloway and Poirier fight, I'm gonna go back to that real quick now. Holloway won because he won because he's great and because he's who he is and because of his makeup and his intestinal fortitude, his skills. I understand all that. But he won the way he won this fight because he had a great fight plan. To your point, to our point, Dubois had no fight plan. And to my point, I'm going to answer your question. You ask a brilliant question. See, the show is so much better with you. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm not. I'm grateful for everyone, and everything the history of this show has been. But you open up conversation for me by bringing me down places that conversation needs to be opened up by asking certain things that are relevant in this sport. And what you brought up is how. And I'm going to answer that question. How do you not have a better fight plan? How do you not adjust when you made those mistakes in the 2nd and 3rd round that Dubois made, reaching in? You see the guy stepping out. You see he's setting traps. How do you not adjust to that? I'm going to answer it, bud. Part of the thing that is Dubois is that what I was explaining before about being awkward, about being, a guy that kind of like, he simply gets directed. He's the kind of guy like you direct him, you give him more confidence, and he's gonna go. And he did that. He did that. He did it in the Hertzford fight. He walked through right hands. He did it in the Joshua fight. He took charge and he caught him. He did. But you can't do that.
Oleksandr Usyk's commanding win over Daniel Dubois impressed many analysts and highlighted his technical skill, especially as a three-time undisputed champion. He has become known for outsmarting opponents with precision and strategy rather than relying solely on power. Despite these achievements, comparisons to Muhammad Ali still fall short. Ali's impact went far beyond titles, with his cultural influence, legendary opponents, and historic fights across generations setting him apart. While Usyk is undoubtedly a top fighter by today's standards, Ali remains a once-in-a-century figure whose legacy continues to dominate conversations about boxing greatness.
Oleksandr Usyk just knocked out Daniel Dubois in the 5th round.
Oleksandr Usyk at his scintillating best with a left counter to the chin, and it was good night for Daniel Dubois. And all rise for the brilliance of Oleksandr Usyk.
Man, I can't lie to you, bro. That overhand left is different. Is different. He put it right on the... That's taking you out, bro. It's cooked. You're cooked. I'm not gonna lie, man. When it comes to heavyweight fighters, you have to put Oleksandr Usyk. He's top 10, bro. It might be crazy to say he top 5, but you gotta look at what he's doing, bro. When it comes to heavyweights, bro, he's different. He's different. It's just simple and plain. After this performance, where do you guys rank Usyk all time? Just strictly heavyweights. When it comes to heavyweights, where do you guys rank him all time? I'm not gonna lie, he's gotta be top 10.
Boxing fans continue to debate a fantasy matchup between Muhammad Ali and Oleksandr Usyk, with some surprisingly arguing that Usyk's southpaw stance and technical skill could challenge Ali. Supporters of this view say his unusual angles, clever feints, and disciplined approach might have outsmarted even a prime Ali, showing the respect Usyk's ring IQ commands. However, many others believe Ali's adaptability, experience, and relentless fighting spirit would ultimately prevail, especially in the later rounds. The contrast between their styles keeps this hypothetical matchup intriguing and fuels endless discussion among fans.
We've got to have an awkward conversation. Prime Muhammad Ali versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who wins this fight? The tale of the tape, both men are pretty much just about the same. Not entirely sure on the birthday thing though, someone can go and fact check that one. And Usyk did actually weigh heavier than 220 pounds when he fought Daniel Dubois. But regardless of that, the two absolute legends of the sport, who would win this? Now, for me, if I'm honest with you, man, this is going to be a real hot take, but I think Usyk wins this, you know. I love Muhammad Ali. He's one of my favourite boxers of all time to watch. I can still go back and watch most of his fights now and enjoy them. He was definitely ahead of his time. But when I watch Oleksandr Usyk and the way that he boxes and, you know, the way that sort of Soviet style, that Ukrainian style now, has come on over the years, and the fact that most of Muhammad Ali's opponents were of a similar size, similar weight to him, whereas Oleksandr Usyk is giving away a lot of weight against a lot of his opponents and still coming out and dominating them. I think Usyk does it. I also, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take, I do think that the current day heavyweight division is probably better than it was when Muhammad Ali was around in terms of the actual caliber of fighters. I think the fact that fighters can only really fight twice a year at max in the heavyweight division now, especially when you're at the very, very top, whereas in Muhammad Ali's age, they could genuinely fight like 5-6 times a year sometimes. I think it speaks a lot to how the sport as a whole has really come on. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. I know I'm going to get an absolute lashing for this one, but yeah, I think Oleksandr Usyk beats Muhammad Ali. I can't believe I've just said that, but hey ho, is what it is. I think Usyk's too technical, it's too good. I think he would actually knock Muhammad Ali out, especially given that Muhammad Ali had a tendency to pull backwards with his chin in the air, and I think Usyk probably finds that. Not to mention that the dimensions are pretty much the same, so Usyk isn't punching up or anything like that. Anyway, let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, similar, share. I'll appreciate it for more boxing content. Hit that follow button. Peace out.
Debating Usyk versus Ali often highlight the physical and stylistic similarities between the two, noting that both are similar in height and weight and rely on speed, footwork, and technique rather than sheer power. Beyond statistics, each has redefined the technical heavyweight role, Ali with his jab and lateral movement in the 60s, and Usyk with his precise footwork and spacing today. Their ability to dominate without relying on knockout power links them in a rare way. Legendary boxer Lennox Lewis added his perspective, claiming he could have beaten Usyk if they fought in the same era. Lewis explains that modern heavyweights struggle against Usyk because they can't disrupt his rhythm or flow, emphasizing that cutting the ring, using size strategically, and attacking the body early, techniques Lewis mastered, are key. His comments underline not only confidence but also a tactical gap in today's heavyweights, offering insight into how the division has evolved and what it takes to challenge a fighter like Usyk.
What do you think Oleksandr Usyk would have done in your era, the era of Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson? How do you think he would have done against you and your contemporaries?
I would have to compare him to Evander Holyfield, and I think he would have done very well. Very well. I don't think he would have lasted against me because, I throw a mean uppercut in there, and I noticed he gets caught with uppercuts, so he wouldn't have been able to stand up to my uppercut.
That's it for today's video.